Hello all, welcome back to the BioRocks channel. In this video today, I'm going to explain you regarding the overview of the last cycle that's we are going to see in the cellular respiration process. That is going to be your electron transport chain, or otherwise we call it as a electron transport system. Okay, so here today we are going to learn about the electron transport chain or system. Okay, so just remember that I told you that cellular respiration is a process that happens. Where is the site of action? Is where does this happen? Is it's going to be starting in the cell cytoplasm, where we are going to see the series of reactions called as glycolysis, and it happens even in the mitochondrial matrix, and these are going to be the ones which are going to be the transition phase. Okay, and secondly we are going to even see the Krebs cycle, or what we call as citric acid cycle. Okay, and we can even see that in the inner membrane of mitochondria, we see a system that happens, the reactions. These are going to be called as electron transport chain. Okay, so this is going to be the introductory part for this. Just remember that this is going to be the final series of steps of reactions that happen in the inner membrane of the mitochondria and the cellular respiration process. And our main aim for the cellular respiration is to produce energy. And this energy has to be utilized. Has to be utilized. It has to be utilized for what process? For production of ATP. Okay, that we are going to see. If you remember, I told you that ADP is added up with inorganic phosphate, and this reaction requires energy that is going to be in form of ATP. Okay, and this is going to happen in the presence of ATPase enzyme, and this is going to release ATP, which is being utilized for a metabolism. Okay, now coming on to the electron transport chain, the electron transport chain can otherwise be called as phosphorylation chain. Phosphorylation chain or electron transport system. Any of the names, but usually we see that the books are referring it as electron transport chain or electron transport system, but we can even call it as electron, that is a phosphorylation chain. What happens here is, if you remember, at the end of the glycolysis, end of the glycolysis and the Krebs cycle, the output that we got were completely 4 ATP molecules, right? 10 NADH2 molecules, which were the reduced coenzymes. Okay, what is this reduced coenzyme? This is none other than what? Your niacin. Okay, the vitamin B. You know that your coenzymes are nothing but what? They may be either vitamins or they may be minerals. Okay, and our NAD is none other than the vitamin B, which is called as niacin. Next we have is, we are going to even produce like FADH2, if you remember. So it's going to be the 2 FADH2 molecules. And this is flavin-adenine, right? This is none other than your riboflavin, another vitamin B, which is a reduced coenzyme here. This is a reduced coenzyme. You remember, children, we just saw that by oxidizing a glucose molecule, what we are doing is, in a cellular respiration process, we are oxidizing this. Oxidizing का मतलब क्या है? Removing hydrogen. Okay, we are removing hydrogen from the glucose, and this has to result in the formation of what? ATP. Okay, this was the thing that was that we were trying to see in the cellular respiration process. We have seen till the Krebs cycle. Now what is left over is how many ATPs are being produced in the cellular respiration from a glucose? There are 38 ATP molecules. Okay, but how many have we produced till the end of Krebs cycle? 4 ATPs. We have produced an NADH2s and 2 FADH2s. Now we are concerned about what about the other 34 ATP molecules? Where are they produced? This is an important question that we need to ask. Okay, so we already have got 4 ATPs, but what about the 34 other ATPs? Those other 34 ATPs are produced in this last series of reactions called as electron transport chain. What actually happens is in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, these reduced NADH2s as well as the reduced FADH2s are going to enter in the inner membrane. And now what they do is they are going to encounter the series of coenzymes which are present. For instance, if these are the coenzymes which are being present the inner membrane, okay, these are the coenzymes. What are all these things? Are coenzymes. And you all know that your coenzymes are none other than they can be vitamins or they can be minerals. So see now what happens is the high energy hydrogens or electrons, okay, I can refer to it as what? These hydrogen, okay, or I will even refer to them as what? As high energy electrons. High energy electrons. Why are they high energy electrons? Because they are residing in the high energy orbitals. They are from the high energy orbitals. Such high energy electrons or the hydrogens now which are with the reduced coenzymes are going to be transferred to this particular coenzyme, the set of coenzymes. So this will be transferred to this coenzyme. Okay, and once this is going to receive, now what happens, children? This is going to lose, right? So now the NADs are going to get what? They are losing hydrogen, so they are going to get oxidized. This is first happening like this. So NAD is going to lose a hydrogen to whom? To a coenzyme. And since the coenzyme is accepting the hydrogen here, we should call this as what? We should call this as a reduction process. So like this, we can see that the one here, the electron acceptor which entered here, that's what the reduced coenzyme enters into the inner membrane. It transfers its high energy electron to the coenzymes, all the series of coenzymes which are built in the inner membrane. So the first one which receives is going to get reduced. As soon as it gets reduced, what it does is it transfers this electron to the adjacent coenzyme. So now this is going to get what? This is going to get oxidized and this particular thing is going to get reduced. This is going to get reduced now. So this is going to be a series of things. So while there is a passing of the electrons from one coenzyme to the other coenzyme, what happens is this is going to actually release, energy here. Okay, so what has happened, children? See, let me tell you, we have coenzymes, okay, and these coenzymes, so this is one of the coenzyme and this is one of the other coenzyme I have on the inner membrane. This is another coenzyme, and at last what I'm going to have is the acceptor will be the oxygen. Okay, so who came in? The reduced coenzymes have come here. Okay, and what are they trying to do? They're trying to lose their high energy electron to this coenzyme. They will get oxidized and they are going to reduce. Okay, and now this is going to transfer its electron to the adjacent coenzyme. So now this is going to get oxidized in the second procedure. This is now what happens is this is going to accept it and now this is going to get reduced. So this is going to happen from one to the other, one to the other. While there is transfer, see, let me write it for you. While there is transfer of high energy electron, while there is transfer of high energy electron, high energy electron from one coenzyme to the other, what is going to be released? Energy is going to be released. So what happens is this is going to result in the release of energy. This step is important for us. Okay, I will give you one analogy, children. For example, if there are some five children standing up in a row, okay, and I'm going to pass, okay, I'm passing up some hot thing to them, hot thing which they can't actually is like handle out. So if I pass this hot thing, what happens? He can't handle it, so he just passes it to the other fellow. He just passes it to the other fellow. Okay, as it is going to pass from one to the other, if it's going to be 10 children in the row, the 10th child, meanwhile the hot thing comes to this particular child, it might be a pakoda or something, the fritters or something like that. The hot thing, as it comes to the 10th child, what happens? It is going to get cooled down, right? What has happened? The heat got transformed. That is, it had transferred into the surroundings. It got transferred into the surroundings. In the same way, this heat which got transferred into the surroundings is nothing but what? Here the same as energy analogy. As a high energy electrons are passing from the one to the other coenzymes, the energy is going to be released, and this energy is none other than the energy what I was talking about, the one which is going to make your ADP to get reacted to inorganic phosphate. Okay, this is that energy which results in the formation of the ATP molecule. Okay, and remember children, during this particular ETC, electron transport chain, when there is series of reduction and oxidation reactions happening, what happens is what has happened? This has released the energy, right? This has resulted in the release of energy. It has released energy for you, and this energy is resulting in what? It is going to result in the formation of an ATP molecule. Okay, this is going to result in the formation of a ATP molecule, which has to be used for what? For your metabolic processes, for the sustenance of life. Okay, sustenance of life. So this is what we are trying to see in the cellular respiration. So remember, in the electron transport chain, the output is going to be the 34 ATPs that we were thinking about, that from where are the 38 ATPs coming from the cellular respiration? Four of them, two of them from the glycolysis, two of them from the Krebs cycle, that is togetherly four, and 34 is going to be from the electron transport chain. Okay, so the enormous amount of ATP molecules produced is just from the what? Just from this particular ETC chain. Remember, the last one who is going to pick up this particular electron, high energy electron, which already has lost energy in the subsequent oxidation reduction reactions, at last it is going to be transferred to this particular oxygen. Okay, so the hydrogens at last are being passed down to the oxygen, which results in the formation of the water, which is being called as metabolic water. Metabolic water. So remember children, that not only we are getting, not only we are getting the 38, that is 34 ATP molecules, but we are also releasing water molecules from the electron transport chain. Why do we require electron transport chain? There is a very, very emergency and need for the electron transport chain in the cellular respiration process, because you know that your glucoses are being oxidized. Okay, what is meant by glucose oxidizing, children? It is going to be oil. I told you. What is that? Oxidation is loss of electrons. So it is, or the hydrogen atoms. It is losing hydrogens. So once these hydrogens are being lost, they cannot accumulate inside the cell, because you know that accumulation of the hydrogen atoms is going to increase what? It is going to increase the acidity. If this acidity is going to be increased, this is going to be death for the cell. And you all know that the increased acidic conditions in the body is even going to lead to what? Cancer. Not only repeated cell divisions, but also increase in the acidic concentrations in the body is going to be the what you call is condition which is going to result in the cancers also. So you need to dump what? You need to dump the hydrogens which are released during the cellular respiration process. This now is very, very important to understand. So that's the reason we are breathing in oxygen. This is the role of the oxygen here. The breathing in oxygen is nothing but the requirement is just in order to dump what? Requirement is to just dump away the hydrogen. From where? From the cell. So how can you dump this hydrogen? You can just like at the last of the electron transport chain, the terminal acceptor, the terminal the terminal acceptor for the hydrogen in the cell, that is especially in the mitochondria, right, in the cell, is going to be whom? Is going to be oxygen, which is going to result in the formation of what? Result in the formation of water molecules, which is not at all toxic for the cell. So what we did is we reduced the toxicity inside the cell by reducing the hydrogen atoms that are being released from where? From the oxidation of the glucoses. Okay, so this is going to be the whole funda of your electron transport chain. Just remember that electron transport chain is going to have some series of coenzymes, and at last the acceptor is going to be oxygen, and it is going to produce a water, and it reduces the toxicity. Okay, this is going to be the thing. Remember, children, the formation of where are we seeing? Yeah. So if you remember, in one of the stages, I told you that ADP is going to be reacting with the inorganic phosphate molecule, and in the presence of the energy to release this particular ATP in the presence of an enzyme which is being called as what? In the enzyme which is being called as ATPase. And remember, this procedure of this reaction is being termed as phosphorylation. What is phosphorylation? The combination of or reaction of ADP with an inorganic phosphate molecule to release ATP is called as phosphorylation. But where is this phosphorylation happening, or when is the phosphorylation is happening is when the glucose is oxidized, right? As the glucoses are getting oxidized, this phosphorylation is happening. So we call this phosphorylation as what? Oxidative phosphorylation process, right? Oxidative phosphorylation process. So just remember that the main aim, as I told you, that it is going to be like we are trying to call this electron transport chain as phosphorylation chain, because this is the one which is responsible for the inorganic phosphate and the ADP to react to produce ATP. And since this is happening by the what you call is a terminal acceptor being oxygen, and as the glucoses are being oxidized, see, glucoses are being oxidized to produce these ATP molecules. How? By joining up ADP with the pi. So why can't I call this phosphorylation as oxidative phosphorylation? Yeah, I can call it. So we call this as oxidative phosphorylation, which happens where? Which happens in the electron transport chain. Okay, this is the funda that you need to remember, and just think that this is going to happen where is going to happen in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, inner membrane of the mitochondria. So just think that, children, imagine that cellular respiration is going to be a process which is the one which was responsible for the what you call is production of the whole lot of the ATP molecules that are required for your maintenance, that is maintenance of your life, maintenance of your tissues and all the systems in the body, as well as to that of running your metabolic processes. So these all things require energy, and for that reason we are trying to take up the oxygen to be the terminal acceptor and to reduce the toxicity inside the cell, to reduce the acidity in the cell. But the whole energy that is produced is not because of the oxygen, but because of the series of oxidation and reduction reactions that happen in the inner membrane during this particular passing of the high energy electron from where? From the different coenzymes which are being seried where on this particular inner membrane. So just remember that, as every time I note it and I try to specify that the hero behind the science is going to be the electron. is going to be the electron. So imagining about the loss of hydrogen from the glucose, having a high energy electron being taken up by the NADs, FADs, being passed on to the coenzymes in a series of reactions and releasing that energy and capturing that energy as ATP molecule during the phosphorylation process is going to be the one which is going to be responsible for your life. Okay, so I hope children you could understand the electron transport chain, and if you have understood this particular video, the procedure that I have explained you, please hit the like button, please hit the like button and try to share my channel to the others, because sharing the knowledge is going to be the bestest of all the services that you are trying to do. So please do try to share my channel and subscribe my channel, and thank you all. Thank you.